Hey there, welcome back to another episode of the Hope Sessions podcast, where every week we want to give you encouragement through different means such as testimonies, dialogues with guests, along with diving into the scriptures and exploring the incredible life-transforming truths inside it. So with all that being said, here's another episode for you to tune into and listen to. God bless. Enjoy the episode. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Hope Sessions podcast with me, Jerry D. We're still on the More Than Words podcast series, and this week we have the one, the only, Ebi, right? And I want to say this about this woman, right? You know, sometimes when people are doing music, you know, they're just kind of dropping a song here and there, and that's kind of it. This is a woman who is super, super busy being effective in both her career, but also in the music scene, but also in the speaking world as well. So we're in for a treat with this podcast episode today. Ebi, welcome to the Hope Sessions podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Jerry. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Look, this is our first conversation as well, so like it's going to be as it is, I'm sure. And you know, this is the Hope Sessions podcast, so it's a Christian podcast. So every person that comes on has a story of how the person of hope, who is Jesus, came into their life. There was a turning point in their life. And before we dive into any of your music or what the Lord is allowing you to do in your life presently, would you share maybe for the next 5 minutes or so what it was like growing up and how you came to faith in Jesus?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in a Christian family, actually.
Hmm.
We were five kids. I was born in Nigeria, city of Lagos.
Wow.
And my dad, was a pastor. And I essentially grew up a Christian,
Yeah.
if you can say that,
Sure.
right? I obviously had to make my own personal decision to follow God, and
Hmm.
I had to do that multiple times. The way it happens. Many
Yeah.
people find that they had to make a decision
Sure.
multiple times. I'd say though that the impact that my faith has had is really just looking back and seeing the trajectory of my life,
Yeah.
because I grew up, and you could say my parents did well
Hmm.
financially. My dad was in the army,
Sure.
but they did not bring us up in with an attitude to take things for granted.
Okay.
I could see that my dad walked the walk.
Yeah.
You know, I could see his faith in his walk.
Yeah.
And that impacted on me multiple times, through my decision to go to med school. At some point, I didn't actually think I had the ability to go through with my decision and become a doctor, because at
Sure.
some point I found it hard. I was like, maybe I'm not meant to do this. Maybe I should go study something else, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but he was like, no, AB, you're taking the easy way out. You need to do this. There's a reason why you were called into this. You need to
Yeah.
stick with that decision and go through with it. And even looking further back, I grew up with a medical condition called nocturnal enuresis. And
Okay.
that essentially just means bedwetting for those people who may not know the medical term. And
Right.
at the time, it wasn't thought of as a medical problem.
Sure.
There were many people that just thought the child is lazy. They don't want to get up out of the bed to go to the bathroom.
Sure.
But essentially, it means that the part of our system that wakes up the child. So the biology is that your bladder fills up. First of all, it's not meant to fill up at night. Many people don't wake up at night to go to toilet because we actually reduce making urine at
Okay.
night.
Yeah.
So first of all, the fact that your bladder is filling up at night is abnormal.
Okay.
Then the fact that the signals that should be sent to the brain to wake you up, that doesn't happen as well. Some people think maybe you're sleeping too deeply. Essentially, is a little bit of a delay. So for kids, when you say, oh, was your child delayed in walking? Was your child delayed in talking? This is also part of development, and that
Yeah.
child is delayed. And now I see kids like this in clinic all the time, and we
Wow.
give them medications. They actually have appointments
Yeah.
and we treat it. But at that time, no one actually even took me to the doctor,
Wow.
right? But this cast a shadow on my childhood because growing up and struggling with that causes a sense of lack of confidence. There's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with my body. I'm not like other people. I have this problem. I have this deficiency that makes me feel very uncomfortable around other people. I
Yeah.
felt less than.
Sure.
And for many years, I didn't even know how much that impacted me until I grew up and became an adult.
Sure.
And now looking back, I can see the ways that it affected me.
Yeah.
But coming from that to where I am today, from all of that, lack of confidence, that feeling of less than, to where I am today. And people say, Ebi, wow, look at all the things you're doing, you're a success.
Yeah.
And sometimes I even struggle to really acknowledge all that I've done because it doesn't feel like a big deal to me.
Sure.
But actually, when I take a step back and see the trajectory, I just see that it's God's hand on my life because, going through all of that, finally finishing and becoming a doctor.
Yeah.
Loving music the way I did and having it impact my life the way I did. And then coming to the UK and then all of a sudden realizing it was literally one night and realizing that God was calling me to actually become a musician as well.
Wow.
And then seeing the interplay of all of that into what I'm doing today is just mind-blowing. It's just God. Like God has been there through it all.
Yeah.
Through it all. And every single part of my life was there for a reason.
Yeah.
And so many times we don't even see it. We can't understand it until we get to the future, and all of a sudden the understanding dawns on us like, wow.
Yeah.
So that is the joy that I carry. The fact that there were times in my life where I felt lost.
Yeah.
Times that I had to move away from home, I felt alone. Times when I had to push myself. It's not easy being a doctor.
Yeah.
Med school, all of that. But God was there through it all, and God was working, and God is working.
Yeah.
And the possibilities of what God can do through something like this is just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. So when people say, how are you doing all of this? I'm like, it's actually not me, it's God.
Yeah.
It's literally God, because God is working. He has a plan.
Sure.
And he works it out. And I'm literally just a tool. But I think the message of hope, and I love your podcast, Hope.
Yeah.
I love it because my first album was called Hope.
Oh, wow.
But when you look at that story and you say, this is what I went through in life, and this is who I am now, I know that regardless of where you are, who you are, what you are going through, God can still take you to places that you never imagined if you just hang in there.
Yeah.
If you just hang in there, God is there. I have a song coming out next week. It's called The God Who Sees Me.
Oh, wow.
And there is a line that goes from, and I could see it clear, and I can see it clear. You were always there. So the first pre-chorus is, you are always there. But
Sure.
then I take the listener on a journey to actually no, now I can see you were always there. It's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's my story. So who am I right now? If I can, do you want me to go on
Yeah, sure, sure. Please do.
about what I do? So right now I'm a pediatrician.
Mm.
I am still training, if you can actually believe it. So in Ireland, it's called senior registrar, where you're
Okay.
still in training to become a pediatric consultant. I'm in my final year now, which is
Oh, wow.
huge because I'm doing this in the middle of all of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm still training, I'm still filling out a portfolio and having to prove that I'm competent at my job to the point where I can actually start practicing pediatrics alone and
Yeah.
unsupervised. Um, I'm a pediatrician with a family, a husband, two kids. Husband is
Mm.
actually in Canada. It's
Wow.
actually in Canada because we're moving there and we're doing it in stages.
Oh, wow.
Um, which is also it's quite big, the fact that my husband is not even here.
Yeah,
Um, but I believe there's also a reason for that, you know.
sure.
Um, two kids, two boys that are beautiful. Seth is 7, Seth is 9. Nathan is going to be 6 next week.
Wow.
They are lovely boys, very
Yeah.
boisterous. They keep me busy. Um, and I'm now also a singer-songwriter. So that happened during the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
I went to bed one night thinking I was just a doctor and woke up the next morning telling my husband, I'm going to start releasing music,
Wow.
because I had this sort of encounter with God in the middle of the night where I kind of felt that AB, all of the songs that you're receiving are actually not for you. They're not for you. They're for people to
Oh,
hear.
wow. Amen.
Um, so yeah, I woke up the next morning and said, Yinka, I'm gonna start releasing music. And he's like, finally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I got that reaction from quite a few people.
That's awesome.
Because before my headspace was AB, oh, you sing really well, are you going to release an album? And I'm like, I'm in med school, right? Like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
time do I have, to being at a place where I'm like, okay, God, if this is going to happen, you're going to show me what to do, because I didn't go to music school. I don't even know how to get music put on Spotify. I don't know how to get things done.
Sure.
But he put me in a place where I had access to all the people that I needed.
Amen. Amen.
Or everyone that I needed was there.
Yeah.
Um, and it just became really clear that this was something God was calling me to do.
Yeah.
Even to the point where I remember going to a it's like a festival of worship. We have it in London. I think it happens yearly, where you sort of worship for 3 days straight.
Okay.
And I was there with the kids, and someone literally just randomly came over to me and started to minister to me. And she said something that was so powerful and has just given me a peace.
Hmm.
And she said, I see you, and it feels like you're trying to juggle too many balls.
Right.
But I want you to know that God is actually the one holding those balls and keeping you from dropping them. And my fear in all of this was always that I would fall down on something, maybe the kids will suffer because I'm doing all these things, and my marriage or
Yeah.
my work, my training in pediatrics will suffer. And people are always like, oh my goodness, how are you managing? And then to be able to say, actually, it's God. It's not me. Like, God is literally helping me keep it together, because
Yeah.
it's a lot. But then I find joy and hope in the fact that if God is working in all of this, then it's only going to be upwards and forwards. I don't need to stress.
That's right.
I don't need to, I just need to keep going, writing the songs that I can write and releasing the music, and just trusting that God is going to do what he's going to do.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you
Um,
an obvious question, I
yeah.
suppose, is so you're sharing your story and you're sharing everything that you're doing, right? And maybe the listeners are listening going, but yeah, there's 24 hours in a day.
Mm,
Like, people often say to me, oh, you're busy, with church and, your own job, and then you're doing the podcast, you're in the middle of doing a book and blah blah blah. And like I just say to him, it just comes down to prioritizing time. Like I literally just do a schedule. I prioritize a writing session for half an hour, whatever it may be. Da, da, da. Everyone has the same 24 hours. Just oftentimes we can tend to be a little bit lazy with it. I thought I was busy until I've just been literally listening to you share about the fact that you're in the middle of moving from one side of the world to the other. You're a pediatrician in training. You're a mom, mother. Like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy. What are some practical steps that you carry out on your daily basis that helps you to get all the stuff you need to get done every day?
Such a great question. Such a
Yeah,
great question. I'm going to tell you some mindset shifts that I had to make.
cool.
First of all, it was as simple as watching people and seeing who else is doing this, because I'm not the first person that is crazy enough to do this,
Sure, sure.
And there are lots of other artists that manage to go on tour and they have families at home and they're working full time and
Yeah.
and I asked them, so I say, how do you do this? I remember talking to Sarah Table. She's a UK artist here. She's
Mm,
amazing. And I asked her, you've gone on tour when you're working full time, how? And she's like, well, I just plan a long weekend. So
yeah,
maybe I could take the Friday and Monday off. And I just schedule my stops through a series of locations and
yeah,
have a long weekend. I'm like, that's really doable.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
And then I see people, one of the people that I looked at was like Joyce Meyer.
Sure.
She's huge. She's a speaker, has her own church, has her own ministry, like plenty of books. I'm like, but how? Well, they did it somehow. How did they
Yeah,
do it?
yeah,
And if they can do it and they don't have two heads, then yes, you can do it as well.
yeah.
Um, I remember listening to a podcast and this preacher was asked, how have you managed to write so many books?
Mm,
you and he said, well, I did it when you were watching TV. you know
wow.
but the best one for a woman, the best one is this. And it's a work, it's a struggle. And this is something that I've seen other women struggle with, is how
Okay.
do I take care of my kids and also be amazing at work?
Yeah.
Because every mom asks that question, when they're professional, and they always ask the same question. And first of all, it's letting go of that guilt.
Mm,
That yes, you can do great at work and also love on your kids.
yeah.
It's letting go of that guilt. It is possible. Um, Number two is really, what can you delegate? Because I can write the books that I want to write. I can record the podcasts that I want to record.
Mm,
I can coach my clients, but no one else can do that. Well, they can't do that right now, probably because I haven't trained them and employed them to do it.
sure,
That's
sure.
changing, by the way. I'm getting some people on the team. But instead of taking time out and saying, I have to cook every day, or I have to do some of these house chores that women think this is my job to do. Well, actually, if in your ministry you're the only one that can write the books, you're the only one that can, plan the message
Yeah,
and record the podcast. Well, can you not get a cleaner to do the house chores? It's
sure.
prioritizing. It's prioritizing, because your calling, this calling is more valuable than that. So can you prioritize that? Because anyone can clean the house and
Yeah,
anyone can actually cook the dishes. You can plan so they cook multiple dishes in 1 week and there's
yeah.
food in the house, so
That's
that
right.
you can focus on this. And it's
Yeah,
letting go of that guilt that I have to be the one to do the laundry because you can't employ a house help to do this,
sure.
but
Yeah.
you can employ a house help to do that. And women just need to be empowered to think that way.
Mm,
And I heard this from a man, and he was like, "Well, I'm a single dad. I have to plan and do things like this."
sure.
And I was like, "Actually, that makes sense."
Yeah,
We women sometimes we derive our value from making sure we're running the house and making sure we're doing, but actually no, this is a higher calling. If
sure.
you've been called to do this, then this takes priority over that. You need to get that sorted, but it doesn't need to be you to do
Yeah,
that.
sure. That's wow. There's just so much wisdom in that, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's like, and then I suppose you haven't touched on it yet, but I mean, you were involved in a very big, how do they say, is it like a speaking competition, or is it like a,
Yeah,
do you want to maybe
yes,
talk about that? Because that's like, let's
absolutely,
not
absolutely.
downplay that. That's an incredible opportunity that the Lord has graced you with the
Mm,
skills to be able to advance to a very good standard with it. So do you want to talk
mm.
about that?
Yes, my speaking journey. So I started to learn about different ways to bring in funds for my ministry, for my
Hmm.
business. And one thing that I decided on doing was speaking,
Yeah,
because as an artist, we're going to be speaking, right? We're
yeah,
going to be sharing our songs, but actually, for more impact, we need to share the story behind the songs, the testimonies that led to the songs. And
yeah,
sometimes these stories and the way you share your story can be so powerful.
yeah,
It can be the difference between someone following you and saying, "Oh, I need to know this person more. I need to connect," you know, as opposed to just saying, "Oh, okay, that's all right." There's
yeah,
such a difference. Um, so I was part of multiple groups because I needed to develop myself to be an artist and to be a business person and things like that. And I was learning from all of these people, and I started to see how you could be so impactful as a speaker,
yeah,
and the fact that anyone could learn that. So I invested in myself in a huge way.
yeah.
Beginning of last year, I said, this year I'm working on becoming a speaker.
Hmm.
It just makes sense.
Yeah,
And I met people that are doing it beautifully. They're combining their music and stories in a professional way and being paid a lot of money.
yeah,
Um, and I was like, this sounds easy to do. So, so
yeah.
I learned from multiple groups and multiple coaches. And then I started to, and thank God for Facebook, because somehow, I don't know if I searched for speakers or speaker trainers, I have no idea, but Facebook pretty much showed me every speaking group and every speaking program there was last
Oh, wow.
year. Because obviously there's still a lot of virtual stuff,
Sure.
so I got connected with lots of different groups, and I started to do some competitions as well, because that's one way to actually make yourself speak.
Yeah,
If you join a competition, then you're going to have to practice. You're going to decide, okay, what am I going to share? I need to practice to
yeah,
say beautifully in this particular time. You probably will get some critique or some encouragement, and I started to do multiple competitions, and some of them I had to pay for because they actually also trained you
yeah.
to do it better. And in one of those competitions, I came across the lady that ran this competition in Canada.
Yeah.
So it's called Speaker Slam. They are the biggest speaker organization or speaking competition in Canada,
Wow.
and lots of professionals pass through they do it so beautifully that they have 5 competitions a year, and a final one that the winners of the 5 competitions for the year go to compete to be the speaker grand slam winner.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And she was like, Ebi, wow, I loved you. I need you to come in my competition. I think you
Wow.
should consider coming. So she invited me for a free training that she does for speakers, and then invited me to also watch the competition online. So
Hmm.
my first experience was online, a free ticket, because she was like, gosh, Ebi, you have a lot of potential. Come join. So I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
followed her for the last year, went on her program, and I said, yes, let's do this, because you know, people might say, why do you do that? I flew all the way to Canada. I spent money. I actually paid to actually do this, because,
Yeah.
and that's another huge mindset shift that I've gone through. What's worth investing in and what's not,
Sure.
because as Christians, we have a huge responsibility to go big in
Yeah.
how we share the goodness of God, the brilliance of God.
Yeah.
If other people who are not even Christians can, you can see the thoughts and the effort they make
Yeah.
to look professional, the lights, the recording. And you're like, well, I have a better message with eternal
Worth.
significance.
That's right.
You know, this is worth investing in. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this because I have more of a responsibility to push the kingdom forward through this.
Yeah, sure.
You know, so I went on, shared my story, and this year, because I started a new project around mental health, mental wellness.
Yeah.
I told the story of how I got through, and the theme was perseverance, which is, you know, one of my core values.
Sure.
You know, every time you see Ebi Oginni music, next to it you see contagious joy, persevering faith. You know, that's what I'm trying to share. So my story was really about how I went through secondary school, you know, struggling with, you know, nocturnal enuresis, bedwetting, but then the sort of things that got me through that, the power of friendship, the power of, you know, music, persevering, you know, and the thought is people hear this, and there are lots of people that very said, oh my goodness, that made me cry, that was powerful, that was, you know, but someone might hear it.
Yeah.
And then look into me, what I'm all about, and then see I'm a Christian and hear my music and then feel this tug to explore God.
That's right.
Spending money to reach people like that.
Yeah, that's right. It's an investment, right? You know, and I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you talk about all the endeavors that the Lord has graced you with, and I have to commend you. It's incredible, and the fact that you're coming on the More Than Words tour, I suppose, to move it over to the More Than Words tour. What was it like when you found out that you were a part of the tour? How did that all happen? Yeah, for our listeners.
It was amazing. So I know what's his name now?
Godfrey.
Godfrey.
Yes.
I'm remembering his last name, which I cannot pronounce.
Oh, I can't. I think it's Shimbanga. I probably butchered it, but I think that's what it is.
But Godfrey is someone that I knew when I was living in Ireland. And
Okay.
because I was in a music scene as well, we will sort of run in the same circles, and I met him time and time again through the years.
Yeah.
So when I started to release music, I was like, oh, I know this person in Ireland who, you know, was all about music. So I started to just talk to him and send him songs that I had released and things like that.
Yeah.
And when I started the project on mental health, and this is something else as well. To artists who may be listening, your message has to move you. Your reason has to move you. Because when I got inspired to start this project, the Harmony and Healing Project, I was like, this is so powerful that I need to share it. People need to know about this. I have no fear picking up the phone and calling to say, hey, I'm doing this. Sure. I need support. You know, I'm doing this because I think it's a message that needs to be shared. Yeah. It's something that everyone should know. It's something that everyone should be empowered to get involved with. You know, looking out for our brothers and sisters, knowing that mental health problems exist and what we can do about it.
That's right.
Okay, and Nathan is here, who I told already that I was going to be in a meeting. Do you want to say hi?
Hello.
Hi. Mommy, can I tell you something?
No, you cannot tell me something.
Mommy, please.
Okay. Can you be quick, okay? Because I'm in a meeting.
Can I just, get this game on?
Okay, no, Nathan. I'll sort that out later. Okay, off you go.
Hey, Mommy, stop. I want one more game.
No, you can't. You already have too many games. Off you go. Off you go. Take care. Don't come back, you know, unless there's an emergency. Okay. Off you go. Close the door.
Mommy, can I just say something? I actually want this one as well.
Okay, Nathan. We'll do it later. Thank you. Close my door, please. Thank you.
That's okay.
I should probably have warned you that happens. School is not in session. They're still up.
You're a mom. It's okay. It's allowed. It's all good. It's all good.
So, yes. So I called Godfrey and I was like, Godfrey, I am doing this project.
Hmm.
I'm releasing music around mental health. I am releasing podcast interviews around mental health.
Yeah.
And I'm letting you know it's happening. And then I also told him about the coaching I do for artists, because I had an event coming up. And that was that. It was literally just calling to say, by the way, Godfrey, I'm doing this.
Oh, wow.
and then Mental Health Week came by and I was like, Ebi, come share about your mental health project that you told me you were doing. It's Mental Health Week. Come on the radio. And she was like, absolutely, let's do this.
Yeah.
But when he heard me talk about the stories, some of the experiences I'd gone through, I'd seen, do you want me to share a little bit about them? I mean, I will talk about it in the
if you in a brief one, I suppose. Yeah, in the last couple of minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So there were some experiences I had at work with. One was with a patient, a teenager, and another was with a father of a patient.
Right.
And I remember coming home after that happened, after I had the experience with the patient's dad. And as doctors, we're sort of trained to not melt in a puddle when things happen. So many of us might go home later and melt in a puddle, or we might go in a side room and melt in a puddle. But we have to be stoic, we have to keep it together. But honestly, I literally just wanted to sit next to this dad and cry with him because, it shook me. And I took that home with me. The experience had a huge impact on me. And started to make me think, there's probably others. What are we doing? What are we doing? And that was the first seed that was sown. And I knew that something had to come out of that. Like throughout, when you are trying to process an experience. Throughout, I knew a song had to come out of that. I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't know what the song was going to say. But finally, the words came. Finally, I was able to channel the cry of that dad. I was able to channel it. And when people hear the song, they're like, Ebi, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. But this is for the people who are crying out that they need help.
Amen.
The people who are saying, I'm drowning, someone send me a lifeline, because there are people out there. And if you come across them, you need to be able to know what to do, what to say. And we need to stop passing the buck. We need to stop saying, oh, yeah, you just need to go to the hospital and talk to a mental health nurse or a mental health doctor. And we need to stop doing that because we have a responsibility.
That's right. Yeah.
We have a responsibility to each other. There's more that we can do.
It's true.
And it's this whole project is about spreading the word. So when Godfrey said, Ebi, you spoke so passionately about this. Do you want to come on this tour? I was like, amazing. Let's do this. Because that's what the project's all about. It's spreading the word.
That's right.
There are things that we can do. There are things that we can do, and we need to become equipped and empowered to do those things, to look out for our neighbors, our brothers and sisters, our children, and help them when they go through, because we're going to go through. Life is going to happen.
That's right.
Life is going to happen. And I talk about Elijah.
Okay.
Elijah had this huge thing happen. He called down fire from heaven and consumed the sacrifices that had been laid out. This huge feat, right? It was a huge miracle. And the very next day, he gets threatened. And he seems to have forgotten the miracle that he performed, that God performed through him the day before. And he starts to feel suicidal. And in my head, I'm like, how does a man of God go through that? But that's because it can happen to anyone.
Yeah,
You just
that's
need
right.
the right combination of experiences to happen, and everyone can feel like they are in a dark place.
Yeah.
They're in this place that they need help. It can happen to anyone. If it happened to Elijah, it certainly can happen to anyone,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But think about how God responded. God didn't say, how can you tell me you're ready to give up? You're ready to die. I should take your life. Like, see what I did yesterday. God didn't get angry with him.
Yeah.
That's what we tend to do sometimes. Like, oh, you need to pray in tongues. You don't have enough faith. You're not praying enough. No.
That's right.
God didn't say that. God just sent him an angel to minister to him,
Yeah.
to love on him,
Yeah.
gave him food, water, gave him time.
Yeah.
God gave him that time to just rest, recuperate. Can you imagine that? And then God ministered to him and brought him out of that.
Yeah. That's kind of like it for the Torah, isn't it? Like we can see it, I suppose, as us as agents of the Lord, angels of the Lord, really, if you want to call it, and just having that
Absolutely.
opportunity to speak into people's lives through spoken
Yes.
word, drill, worship. It's all worship. It's just different genres, different types of worship,
Yes.
right? And I'm so excited to have you come on the tour and also to get to meet you in person and have some dialogues about these topics in person as well. And it's crazy to think that it's coming upon us so quickly as well, you know. But I do want to say, for our listeners that like to come to these dates to get talking to Dr. Ebi. I'll give you your professional title because I'm trying to point them your direction. But I'm
Yes.
really excited to have you on the tour, really excited just to partner with everyone. And I do want to say to you a massive thank you for coming on tonight. This is such a needed conversation. So I do want to say thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me, and thank you for organizing it.
Hmm.
You know, that you have said yes to God. It's a big fit.
Yeah.
It's a huge feat to organize something like this. And the fact that you are seeing the need and organizing all of that, that's huge. So thank you
Yeah.
for doing it as well.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. And for our listeners that are listening, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Buy a ticket. We'll see you at the More Than Words tour. Take care. God bless.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Hope Sessions podcast. Did you enjoy the episode? Maybe did it encourage you or motivate you? Do you think there's someone in your life could benefit or be blessed by this episode? If so, then why not send it to them? Lastly, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you use. This massively helps to spread the podcast literally all across the world. And don't forget that hope is to life as oxygen is to the body. God bless you and have a wonderful week. Take care.